been addressed here a long time ago. I mean, it's been legal in California, what, since 96? 96 here. A lot of us here are established in this business. We've set up nonprofit. We've got delivery services. We deliver to dispensaries. You know, this is like my third year of growing. I mean, I just spent a lot of time and money, and it's a very demanding business to do it right. You know, to breed the plant for these patients. And what I think the county should do, that's just my thing here, what the county should do is have a fee per plant every year. You could be making money. You can control where it's cultivated. If you have a problem area, say like up at the forest there, hey, you could regulate it, restrict it, you know. You would know where every grow was, you know. And then if they were not in compliance, then you could spank their ass, you know. And I know there's been problems up there at what's it called. I'm saying this is not the cure of the problems, but you can't really stop anybody from growing medical cannabis. But you can control where and how. For, like, say, residential areas, you know, where there's close quarters, you could put it where it was just growing in a house, indoors. You wouldn't have no lights, you wouldn't have to worry about no dogs or nothing, you know. If you had...
I'm sorry, can you say that again, please?
You could have it indoors, like in a closet. I mean, I've seen a lot of closet gardens. They just have the closet, have their grow lights in there. Everything is combined in their house. There's no smell, you know. The lights don't bother nobody.
You know, there's no prohibition in here from growing inside.
There's no what now?
No prohibition in this draft ordinance from growing inside.
Okay, let's say for residential. Say if you got a lot, say 5 acres and bigger, could put it in a greenhouse. Then that would take care of your light thing there. And then, you know, if you got more acreage, then you can grow more. You can grow up to your 99 plants there. You know, I have a delivery service. I have, I don't know, maybe 15 patients that I do. Some with cancer, Lyme's disease. If you know, you guys probably don't know what cannabis, medical cannabis does, but if you would go on YouTube and put in cannabis cancer, I mean, there's some very sincere people there that tell you, you know, about the cannabis, diabetes, eating disorders. You know, I smoke it, kind of makes me kind of frisky in the evening, you know. But that's all I got to say, you know. If, like I say, if you would take I'd be willing to pay, you know, $15, $20, $50 a plant. You know, that way you guys would know where every grow was. You would know. You would know how many was in there. You would know where the problem was. You could regulate it, restrict it, or whatever. You know, but I mean, there's a few of us here that cut us down to 20 plants and stuff. I mean, like I say, I've been doing it for 3 years, and I know Randy's been doing it more, and a couple other guys. You know, this is a business here. We're just trying to survive like everybody else, you know. And yeah, that's all I got to say.
Okay, thanks, Ted. Any questions for Ted?
Hang on, Ted.
Aaron?
Hang on.
Okay.
Aaron got a question.
You were talking about grow lights. You even need grow lights outside. Now,
Right.
I don't necessarily believe that because, I mean, there's grows out in the forest and everything else. So
Okay,
I'm
well,
assuming
what
with
you
grow
got-
lights- I'm assuming with grow lights, you get a faster turnaround time.
No, when the plant needs to mature, if you have the grow lights on at night, I turn mine on at 1 o'clock in the morning, and they'll go to 6. That is so the plants won't flower. Okay, as soon as I shut them lights off, that plant thinks, hey, it's getting wintertime here, I better start flowering. So that is the reason why we have the lights. They're not grow lights, they're just regular lights, sprinkler lights. And that's all that does is to keep them from not maturing early until they're adults.
Slow it down.
Pardon?
It's to slow down the maturing.
Right, it is not to mature until it's ready, you know.
So you wouldn't have a need for that if you located a parcel out close by where the prisons are.
Oh, yeah. You know, you come around Mass Hill, you gotta put on sunglasses at night to get around there, you know.
Randy, do you have a comment? Randy? Did you have a comment?
What he's saying is supplemental lighting. Pretty much what it is when you have a cannabis plant, you throw a cannabis plant outside that's an old plant. Cannabis, just like any other plant, has a life cycle of about 6 months. So if you throw a plant outside that's 2 or 3 months old, it wants to start flowering or fruiting earlier than it's supposed to. So what he's talking about is putting supplemental lighting out there for 2-3 weeks, and that just keeps them vegging. Growing as they're supposed to, and then flower when they're supposed to, rather than flowering early. And it's just a compact fluorescent, little cheap light. It's no high intensity discharge lights. These little lights like these ones.
Thank you, guys. Thank you,
All right. Another question I had here, we got a text that there's going to be another meeting at 6:30 tonight for the final decision on this.
I believe the city council.
No, the city public committee has a meeting tonight.
Correct.
And is that going to...
Separate and different.
Okay.
City of Susanville. Yeah,
Okay.
only for land within the city of Susanville.
Oh,
That
okay.
deal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? No, come up.
If I can, I don't mean, no, please come forward. I just want to say, I've been kind of laughing a little bit and having a good time, but I don't want to, for one instant, take away from the serious nuisance impacts that folks, and I kind of caught myself a little bit there, because I don't want that to go by unnoticed. I think that the reason we're here is because we received expressions of concern / complaints from constituents, members of the community about these things that were going on. And I just didn't want you thinking that because I was making some light of what is otherwise a controversial or tense situation that I didn't appreciate that.
Absolutely, thank you.
You bet.
My name is Ronnie Chandler.
Ronnie, can I say something?
Yes, sir, you may.
Real quick. We have 5 or 6 problem grows, and we have to address those for the nuisances. That's got to stop. It's not fair to impact the neighbors the way they've been impacted. I need to throw that in there. We've got to figure out a way to get that stopped.
Thank you.
Without impacting the legitimate
Yes.
Exactly.
medical marijuana
Exactly.
patient who has their need, and we have to find a balance.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
No.
interrupt you, but that's just...
No, I appreciate it, and that's why I'm here.
I
You know,
know.
I am definitely one of those people. I'm one impacted by a really large growth. And I understand, you know, like I said, I am in support of medical marijuana. But my input is, my family owns 24 acres residential ag at the end of Valley View. Let's say if we are not, we don't use pot, but if we needed it, look at how much pot we could grow there. Well, I want to tell you that people now have 99 plants, not yet, but they customarily have 99 plants. Valley View Lane is 4/10 of a mile. When they are harvesting, I guess that's the term, you come up Valley View, it looks like an inversion, you know, the valley's an inversion, you know, it holds all the clouds under. Well, that's what the end of Valley View Lane looks like. And it's a gray, heavy, smog-looking stuff, and it's whatever they're doing to the plants. I don't know if they burn them or they dry them or they what, or they do what. But you can not only smell it, you can see it from a half a mile away. All right, so y'all that, you know, I'm just assuming that you're not heavy pot users, but if you are, you need to come down and experience, because we had no idea. You know, we were in support of him coming in, and, you know, until we go, holy crap, what is this? And I mean, I liken it to, because marijuana not only is offensive smell to me because I don't like it and I don't use it, it's a health hazard, you know. Listen to my breathing. This is really impacted by the air that not only me but my family has to breathe. And you can't catch your breath. It's horrible. All right, so I kind of liken it to the pot growers, you know. To our neighbor, I said it'd be kind of like you having a slaughterhouse next door or open sewer pond, because you can't open your window at night because you can't breathe the crap. Well, to your medical marijuana to us is exactly the same thing. So, you know, I just ask y'all to consider, if you're saying, okay, our neighbor owns 4 acres, right? So he'd be limited to X number of, you know, plants. But let's say it happened to be us growing it. We're in the same neighborhood, and we have, you know, 6 times that amount of property there. We would be able to grow, almost the growth that he's growing now. It's not fair to the neighbors because they have to breathe that crap. So if we took his 4 acres and our 25 acres, we'd be having the same amount of plants that he has right now. You can't breathe. You have to take that in consideration. I'm all about, you know, I said, why the hell didn't he move to Ravendale? You know, we wouldn't have had a complaint. But they come into residential neighborhoods and it's not fair. You know, and honest to God, if this doesn't stop, we're moving.
So let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Knowing that I can't draft an ordinance for presentation to this board that says it's a nuisance for marijuana to be grown at these specific addresses in Lassen County, knowing that I can't
Right,
do that,
absolutely.
because that wouldn't be fair,
No, I
and
agree.
we'd be in court by the end of the day.
You get absolutely right. I agree.
How should we construct it?
Boy, that's a hard one. I don't have the answer for that.
Okay.
But I do know you have to consider not only the patients that are, you know, dying and need medical marijuana.
And you don't slight that.
No, I don't like that
Understood.
at all. But for those of us that have asthma and live next door to that, don't we have the same issues? You know.
So
the fact
you're
that
talking about the
growing-
burning issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's where our problem is, the burning issue and the guard dogs, you know, not contained guard dogs. And we've had animal control out. It's already killed one of their own dogs and fought the neighbor dog and chased our horses and chased our kids, and there's not a damn thing that can be done. This has to stop, you know. This has to stop. And the only reason I haven't already shot the dogs is because I don't want them to retaliate and come down and poison my 15 horses, right? Because that's the kind of people that we're dealing with. So anyways, I don't know what the answer is, but you just have to take in consideration not only the patients that need the medical marijuana, but all of us that are, it's crammed down our throat. We can't get away from it. We have no choice.
Do you think that if the number of plants that was permitted to be cultivated on any individual parcel was capped at a
6.
whatever the number is?
Yes, sir.
But you know, I think the number in the draft ordinance, based on what we had before, was 16 to 20 or something of the like. Do you think that would cause there to not be a reason for guard dogs?
I would think so, but, you know, like I said, I don't know much about marijuana. You know, I know it's in high demand, and I know they have security cameras up everywhere, and they sit there on their property with guns, so I don't know what the value of it is, because I have no, you know, it doesn't really.
Not something you shop for every day.
It's not relevant to me, but I do, you know, I do think, I don't know anything about, like I said, about marijuana, but when I look at 20 plants, I think that's going to still be a whole lot of stink. I think 20 plants is, and you know, my son works at the prison, and he just happened to talk to one of the guys that was in there for drugs, and he said, oh my God, I couldn't smoke 10 plants if I stayed high all year. So I mean, you know, that came from a prisoner that's in there for drugs. So that kind of gave me a different approach to it. You know,
Do you know how big the parcel is on Valley View?
Yeah,
the
it's 4
subject of your
acres.
comments? How many?
Yeah, it's 4 acres, yeah. And the plants are huge. He has a 6-foot-tall fence, but his property's kind of sloped. So as we ride back, you know, we have to ride or drive past his place to leave our ranch. That's a real pain.
On horseback?
On horseback or in the car.
Okay.
And we can't walk there because because that's a little hackling crew over here behind the fence. So, you know, they're very intimidating. So, but on horseback, you could count every plant, and the plants were above the fence, right? I guess right above harvest. They had some kind of big flower thing on the top of them, you know. So I'm assuming that it was that. But yeah, you know, that shouldn't be allowed. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I just know that, you know, if we can't get resolved, my family's leaving because our health is definitely impacted by it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anybody else?
I'm like Iona McCain. I guess some of you know where I live, on the Belfast Road. And out there, there's a real problem. There are quite a few mobile homes, we'll say, on Belfast Road and also on Juniper Ridge Boulevard. There's quite a few mobile homes out there. And a lot of them are up for sale. And I became curious about it and knocked around on different homes. And they say that when the ponds out there, the sewer ponds turn, or whatever they do once or twice a year, that smell, it comes drifting along with the wind, clear out to where Litchfield and the homes out there. It's not only that problem, I mean, these are invisible things like the wind, and how about the lighting system out there that they have that just keeps them light? They have to have shades and everything. The turnover of the residents. And this is a issue that I think that we can't solve now that the prisons are there. But remember this, they are in a specific area. They're in a zoned area. I don't know if these people want to do their business, if we have an industrial park zoned as such, why don't we say, if you guys want your business, you all can go here in that certain area. And that way the residents, like they're going through whatever with their cattle, I wonder why the EPA doesn't get more involved in it, than they are not involved. But anyways, there's suggestions here that really affect us, but how do we solve it? Because it's so a big issue that affects us all. That's what I'm trying to say. So there must be an issue that you can handle it with zoning. It's something that we've really got to take hold of now before every residence, it doesn't make any difference where you live, would be affected by the smell.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I am not really familiar with this subject, so I have a basic question. My name is Eileen Richard. I'm wondering if, say, the medical marijuana grower, does the patient that they're growing for, does that have to be a Lassen County resident?
There's no requirement under the law.
If not, what's to prevent people from coming out of the area, buying a couple acres, 99, 70 plants for everybody out, in other areas of the state, and making this a profitable industry that would just create all kinds of problems?
So I want to make sure I understand your question. Is the concern that out-of-county persons could buy land here and then grow their marijuana? That someone would have to live on that parcel that was the designated primary caregiver.
So it would have to be a resident.
Yes.
Now, that gentleman was talking about being a caregiver that didn't live on the property.
As proposed, either...
That's being proposed.
Yes, as proposed, either the patient or the caregiver would, or both, would have to live on the property where the marijuana is being grown.
Okay, so that has changed.
That's not currently the law.
That's not the law. Okay.
Yes.
So how, again, I don't know the specifics on this. How much would a person need? Would they need 99 plants?
Well, that's a
and to me, that's,
subject of much debate, ma'am.
Yes, that's the incentive to make this just a terrible situation.
It's
where
the subject
you've got,
of much debate. You could, not that you would, but you could probably go, I think I know where, somewhere here in town, make an appointment, pay $200 and get a recommendation for 99 plants.
yes,
Without any reference of your medical records in about 15 minutes' time.
yeah. That's why I would really caution and am against making it that high amount, no matter how many. Thank you.
Thank you. Iona?
It appears to me that there seems to be a problem here, and we're using the term medical for the purpose of for using marijuana, aren't we? Is that what used to be illegal is now legal because we're saying it's a medical issue?
Correct.
Well, if it's a medical issue, don't you think we will have a medical board or someone here advising us
how this person over here can grow 6 plants and that one over there can grow 10
Law
or
doesn't
12?
require it. We didn't, this was Proposition 215 adopted by the voters through initiative process in
Oh, yeah.
1996.
Yeah.
And the construct of that initiative was such that it didn't require it. As long as you get a written or, wait for it, oral recommendation of a
It's
physician,
too big.
you can
It's
possess and grow.
It's
It can be oral.
important to note for the record that Lassen County voters voted basically 2-1 against Prop 215. So this was not something that the voters here locally embraced. So it was something that was passed on a statewide basis, and we're living with the consequence. So this idea that the Lassen County people is not work.
With nobody else wanting to comment? Randy, you want a quick one?
Yeah, really fast. I just wanted to mention the guy that's growing on Valley View. That's the no nuisance garden
Yay.
around. You know, it is one of 5 no nuisance gardens.
Can I ask you a question? Would you agree that there is a certain segment of the marijuana growing population that has created the reason that we're here in the first place?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Has there been any, not that we'd be privy to it, sort of conversation in those circles about, hey, knock it off because you're going to have it come down on all of us?
Yeah, well, my problem would be is I don't want to be associated with
Fair
that. You know, I handle things in a far different manner than your neighbor does. You know, that's I know that garden just because of people talking and how big of a nuisance that it's been. As well as his guard dogs, his pit bulls that he has there. There's been lots of issues with it. And then the other thing that I wanted to relay was not everybody that's using cannabis for medical problems is smoking it. You know, I have several patients that are eating it, and the reason is they don't like being intoxicated. Okay, people don't. This is not new information. It's been around that you have delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol and you have THC acid. All right, delta 9 is the THC we know as being psychoactive. That's been decarboxylized, meaning heat's been added to it. So it drops a carbon molecule and then becomes psychoactive at 10 milligrams. All right, if you eat raw cannabis, which is THC acid as well as CBDs, you've heard about cannabidiol. It's a new leading ingredient in cannabis that is saying that it's helping all sorts of inflammatory diseases, all sorts of cancer diseases. Has CBD acid too, as well as raw form. So when you're eating raw cannabis, you can intake a very, very, very large amount, just like you would a vegetable, a real nice sized salad, you know, and it wouldn't get you high. And this is the truth. This is truth. Dr. William Courtney is the leading doctor in this research. And if you read it, that's the most medical benefits that you get from cannabis is from consuming it raw. You know, and that's the other thing I just wanted to relay to anyone that doesn't really understand how medical marijuana is used properly. You know, some people need to smoke it for serious anxiety orders that they need relief right now. But somebody that has cancer and has tumors riddling their body, the treatment for that now has been to flood your body with as much THC and CBDs as you possibly can, because they've proven that THC fights cancer. It promotes apoptosis in cancerous cells. It makes them kill themselves so that they don't split and divide and create tumors, and then promote angiogenesis so they get blood flow to the tumors. So eating it in a raw form, you can intake a lot more and not be intoxicated. So, yeah, that's
Mr. Collins, friend. Mr. Collins.
You're giving us way more information than we need.
Guys, not all that.
It's obvious you are very educated on this.
Yes, he is. He's my teacher.
I just take it very seriously. You know?
And just for the record, I have never used marijuana. Not even in my college days. Okay, we have to give them direction to staff, you guys.
That's the request.
Okay, wait a minute, we got another public comment.
I've been here in the county for 2 years now.
Your name?
My name is Ken Davis. As what I see around, I'm also working with the city on their zoning, or on their rough drafts, considering the ordinance. What I see out of a lot of this is the smell, is one of the nuisance issues, and vicious dogs. Why don't we have a city ordinance against vicious dogs? We got farm animals out here and everything. We need to protect the farmers too.
We do.
And this is what I'm going to address tonight too at the city council about vicious dogs.
We're not city here, we're county.
I understand that. And I live in the county, down Levitt Lake. Another thing is the smell. The smell, no matter what kind of ordinance you guys create, the smell's going to be there from the last 3 months, usually. From November to October is around harvest time. Here's another thing. Considering we are drafting a new ordinance and stuff, let's take into consideration come next year, it goes on the ballot for recreational. So, as far as wording and stuff, I do appreciate a lot of your action today. I fight atrial fibrillation, so I am a medical marijuana user myself. I am fighting AFib right now, so you have to excuse my breathing.
Take your time.
Next thing is realistically, the city has got an ordinance of 12 plants, not 6, not 5, maximum 12. I kind of like that. Realistically, if you're going to grow, I myself have not been a grower. I cannot grow because I live right next to the city park there at Levitt Lake. We've got a daycare center and a park, so I'm looking for a caregiver. I had one in the city, and they're abolishing caregivers altogether. So,
In Susanville?
I will be looking to talk to you about that.
No business deals out
In the city of Susanville, yeah, they're not providing no caregivers. It's going to be 12 plants per parcel. And I'm also requesting a little bit of the setbacks. I think 20 feet is a little far-fetched. I believe 10 to 15 feet would be reasonable away from someone being able to reach over and grab it from the fence. That's what we're looking at security-wise. A lot of these yards aren't large enough to grow it. The city, which we're going to have in a debate tonight, they're trying to restrict 12 plants into a 10 by 12 foot area, which doesn't allow enough natural sunlight to grow for the canopy. As far as size of plants, once again, it's a big gray area. You can grow a little small plant. I've seen plants as far as 15 feet tall. You can produce up to 2 or 3 pounds per plant, or you can produce 2 or 3 ounces per plant, depending on the size. So there's a lot of big gray areas I see in there. And as far as the public and stuff, I believe that it should be sight unseen, should be secure. This is medication. This is not something that these people, and once again, this 99 plant thing, that's way beyond my beliefs.
A question for you.
Sure.
What do you think about the idea that kind of the step down or tiered process where you have, depending on the size of the parcel, a different number of plants? What do you think about that?
That's understandably, as long as you're not offending your neighbors. I mean, because you got to live with them. I live out at Levitt Lake, and we're talking about smell of the ponds. I mean, the most disgusting smell I've ever smelled when the wind changes.
We're working on that.
And I understand that, and the new pumps out there are helping.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, because I am the closest to the ponds.
But the majority of those parcels are less than 1 acre. Would you agree?
I agree.
All right. And so would you think that there would be a reduced number of plant count per those smaller parcels than, say, the ones off Honey Girl Lane that are 20 or 40 acres or whatever they are, maybe 5 or 20 acres? Do you think the number ought to be different?
I think that should be the discretion of the enforcement officer. And basically, what I would like to see is, like I said, we'd like to register our gardens, at least let law enforcement know who's legal, who's not legal. This will simplify a lot of extra time with dispatch and everything else.
You know, there's nothing that precludes someone who's growing from, absent the registration requirement, when they see a patrolling deputy in the neighborhood, to stick their hand out and introduce themselves.
That's fair.
Okay.
I believe that. I mean, if you're going to be public about it, and this is medication, there should be no hidden issues.
Fair enough.